You know, it is kind of with great sadness that I end the season of Fukaru the way we have. It has been an incredible season of full lobbies with great players, with using a part-time system that was originally created, that I created for AWC, and finally got to master it. Today we actually had our first qualifying system, and it was great because the part-time that we had selected, pre-selected beforehand, was actually the part-time that came out. So the last lap is on ANGL Benny Speedway. This was something that was given to me a while back that I was really excited to try out to see how it would work. I'm really excited about this track. I know this is very fast right now. They're not actually racing. This is actually the parade lap. So it's so cool to see when you have really good guys that are dialed in. And the thing is, and I'm going to use it, these are professional racers, not just guys that are going to go in there and try to get their fastest laps. These are guys that literally are consummate racers that don't have accidents on parade laps. They're just amazing racers, and like I said, I'm happy to end the season with a great thing. And as they pull it in here, we're going to start this season like this, and we're going to start it next season with the same great group of people, and it is going to be astounding. Here we go on the first ever part-time. Today is 2:17. These guys have already taken off. We're going to move up to Demonic. I want to start in the top three here. These guys were fast in qualifying. What ended up happening was, unfortunately, a bunch of guys had cars that were the part-time. When you part-time something, well, a giant already dropped. Man, that sucks. So when you set par is almost like a chess game when it comes to qualifying, because you don't want to go too fast, because if you go too fast, you don't get any of the bonus points for qualifying. The qualifying time actually goes best lap to the person who is the fastest without going over whatever the par time is, without basically knowing what the par time is based on how everybody drives. So the trick is really finding a car that will always nail you par. I know that sounds really hard to do, but it's something that I actually picked up pretty quickly and pretty easily. And if you can turn off your ability to say, hey, I gotta go fast, then you end up being in a better place for it. So so here we are following one of our fun guys here, which is Demonic. So let's see here. Geaser is pulling way out there. We have Juxry up there too. Geaser, he hasn't done too many races. If he has it for car, he's been in the other series, but he brought an Elegy RH8 today, and he was just, Demonic's crashing. And there's MRoyal moving up to his position. Demonic, who is a lap king when it comes to speed, but he's had some difficulty with I guess the word is keeping it under the speed times that he needs to. First time I ever screwed up hitting some buttons that I weren't supposed to. The controller's in one hand, and I just kind of balance it as I'm talking between each person. So here's RPM moving in on MRoyal. He's going to make his move right here. Wall bound. So unlike some of the other races out there, curb boosting is not allowed. If any of this kind of tricks, glitches, that kind of thing, the racers are not allowed to use them at all. So hitting the curb or doing anything with it, they can't do it. If both their wheels go over the edge of any kind of bump stop on the track, it's counted as a as basically like not a disqualifier, but in other words, they you get a deduction in points for doing it. So it's basically you have to be able to control your car. You can't just throw it out and be, a crazy driver. You got to be able to balance it and do everything you need to make it into each one. So we got a 218. 217 is the par, so we're actually below that time. Some players got their par time was, I guess the word is, crushingly fast when they did their run, especially in Elegy RH8. And what happened was they had to use the same car that you qualified in, so they had to degrade their vehicle to meet that par requirement, so they wouldn't. People don't understand how hard it is to focus on racing your car while at the same time looking at that lap time and making it happen. So RPM currently is the points leader. But as you can see, MRoyal is really fighting for that top position. Now, you may ask why. It's because he's so darn close to it with him and Juxry that it really is anybody's race right now. 2 to 3 points could determine that top place position. So there's Geaser taking over first place from Juxry. So MRoyal needs to beat Juxry to take over the position from RPM, who is, I'm believing right now, is in 4th position. Yeah, so I mean he's knocking on the door too. So that's RPM right. Oh no, it's Geaser. There's RPM. I'm thinking right behind Geaser right there. So we're gonna actually move back to RPM. One thing that you'll notice that happens with the part-time racing and the way we do it right now is it's always tight. The reason is because if they go over this part-time, they actually get deductions from their total point standings. So we actually have a lot of changes in positions, people going from first to second. There's always some sort of battle going on, and these guys are in the middle of it because remember with that part time, it's kind of a, you can go fast. There's Demonic. Is he going to be able to move ahead of RPM? So, like I said, here it's kind of like borrowing time. So you can borrow time from one place to try to pass somebody, but then you have to give it back by the time you get to the end of the track because you don't want your track time to be too fast. So RPM pushed out a little bit there, and that allowed Demonic to get in front of him. MRoyal still sitting in that position. And RPM... See how he has to come on the outside of that line. We do give leeway for players who are, taking turns to dodge people or missing something. You want to make sure that they don't. I mean, if you're going to use part of the track that's basically illegal, but you're keeping yourself from getting in an accident or hitting somebody or crashing them, then we're going to let that slide, obviously. But the way we've handled it right now, you can literally be a new style of racer, popping fresh right out, have all your upgrades for your car, come into the race and do fairly well in the race in the standings. And all you really have to do, and that's really the trick, is show up to every race. If you can show up to every race, use the same exact car through the whole entire series, you're going to see yourself get bonuses. For the time being, we're actually giving out, certificates for winners. Before we have given out T-shirts. And we've actually are considering doing cash cards for next season. So, really, you're going to require more players to do that, full rooms, and a little bit more on the side of viewing. So, we want to have to be able to pay for it somehow. So, but yeah, we're actually thinking about making some try hard hats for next year. So yeah, just some fun stuff. And I mean, this is it. This is competitive racing right now. I mean, anytime you see any kind of major racing series, there's some way or some handicap that the players get on their cars to make sure that everybody stays competitive throughout the race. And this is it. You're seeing it. So now Juxry has pulled out into that lead position. Like I said, MRoyal has a lot to lose here, and you can see him putting in a lot of effort to get into this race, racing clean, and taking that Jester. Well, I mean, yeah, how many times you see a Jester in here being competitive in races? Elegy RH8, I thought was kind of funny because I didn't expect to see that. And I guess he didn't think that when he did the qualifying, because this was the first time we did qualify for car, that he actually thought he might be able to change cars. So So there's where MRoyal would have crossed those two lines, cutting across the corner there. So you might get a little points deduction from that. So not good, but as long as he can keep it under par, he still gets he'll get number of players in here is 8. So he'll get his finishing place times 8. If he goes over par, it's only times 5. So that's which we call the GT 500 group. GT 500 group, not so much points because they can, if it's not competitive if you can just throw it around a track at full speed. So it's really in your effort to go a little bit slower, pull it in, and even if we have a team of guys that say, "Hey, I just want to drive," even the GT 500 guys get a point, basically like a point deduction of 2 points for every time they go over that top speed or top time. So as they come across the line here, there's your 217. Oh, and Demonic's got a 216. So even though he gets his best lap, he's now in GT 500, and he's not going to get. He's going to only get times 5 for the race. Demonic was in 6th for points overall. I think he's shown up for about 2 or 3 races. So he wasn't in the area to beat the championship today. So coming in and doing what he's doing today is really just bonus for him. But yeah, they keep in with their points, and they keep in with the part time, and they have a lot of fun doing it. So here we are in a 3-horse race with 3 very fast cars and very fast drivers. We got Juxry and MRoyal who are up front just literally gunning at each other, and they have their point standings to worry about. Geaser is getting hungry, and Royal is pushing that car as far as he can. Is Geaser going to take him? That's the question. Geaser had the overall best time for today. He started off in pole position, but RPM actually had the actual pole time because he's GT 300. So the GT 300 pole time. So as long as he stays below that time, he's going to get that qualifying lap bonus. And there's RPM right now, knocking on the door. We're going to move back. So we got RPM. I'm going to move back to Ricky Bobby. I love showing off some of the guys here that show up to every race and just try to, push it. I know you guys haven't seen Ricky this year. Time-wise with his work and everything, he hasn't been able to show up. But he is one of probably the first guys to join Sport GT. Love having him in all the races. He's just a cool all-around guy. And he's a fun guy to have at a race rate. So, and there is Ricky doing a 220. So let's next. And this is now, if you've seen Sprunk Extreme, Sprunk Extreme was an idea that I came up with a while back. I don't remember who actually came up with the idea of the stock car racing, but Chewie was the first guy to actually implement the stock car racing because I did not have time to do it. He is actually driving a Carbonizzare, and if you will also remember, he is the first person ever to be sponsored in AWC, and if he keeps doing what he's doing and showing up for races, he'll be the first guy to get sponsored in Fukaru too. So let's move back to Demonic. Demonic, the legendary Demonic, runs his own crew, race crew, and just one of the top guys. He's head with the most wanted street racers. Has a couple of times made the the fastest challenge. He's had the fastest. So basically, he has a best lap, at least crew side on a racetrack that is set crew wide or actually worldwide, if you will. In some sort of actually Rockstar created race, and he's done it 2 or 3 times at least. He's one of those guys that me and Seekillo, which is two guys, just me and him used to run those races, and either come first or second. Seekillo would usually had bested me a couple of times, which and I have no problem saying he's definitely faster than me when it comes to racing. And then suddenly Demonic would swoop in like 15 minutes before the finish of the fastest challenge and just take the fastest, and embarrass us by doing it by like a second or 2 seconds ahead. What he lacks in racing is usually consistency. So you can see he'll end up having some problems with the race wise. He'll end up hitting a wall or going above par, or some skidding out, and it hurts him in the long run. So, but he'll definitely pull it in, and he's definitely a good racer. So we're gonna move up to Geaser. This is we're back into. Oh, what are we getting here? What is going on? What have I walked into? There's the finish line right there as MRoyal takes it. 217s. Look at this. It was a battle unto the end, wasn't it? I don't even see who won. I'm going to have to look back at the times to see who pulled that off. I mean, everybody finished at the same time. 217s across. Look at this. 217s RPM coming in fifth. MRoyal pulling it off. So if you're... we're going to be putting the... points totals in the comments below, so if you want to know who won the championship, they'll be there. Thank you guys for tuning in to season 1 of Fukaru. It has been amazing. Keep your eyes peeled for season 2. We are going to not finish using your tracks. This is VIPPrimo signing off. We will see you next time. Bye.